Welcome, and thank you for joining me for today's Traveler's Notes. I wanted to talk about a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. Something that is kind of a little sad to me, to be honest, because so many people go through it. I've been through it. My nephew went through it. A lot of people have gone through it. A lot of people out there are searching for love and belonging more than they are for anything else. And unfortunately, you can't find love and belonging outside of yourself. To attract love and belonging, you have to learn how to love yourself first. And that can be quite a long journey for people. Learning to love yourself requires you to love every aspect of yourself. It involves shadow work. In a lot of ways, it's an ever-evolving process that just starts with the acknowledgement that you are worthy of love and that you are lovable. And I think that's important to say. Everyone is worthy of love and everyone is lovable. We can do heinous acts. We can do things that are terrible to one another. We can do things that some think are unforgivable. Everybody seems to have a sliding scale of what's considered forgivable and what's not forgivable. Perfectionists hold people to very high standards. They're unrealistic. And some people don't hold anyone to any sort of standard. They just do for others, almost endlessly. Now, the love and belonging level of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need is very high on my viewers. It gets the most hits out of almost all of my videos, except for perhaps alchemy. And the reason is that I think a lot of people want to know how to find love and belonging. And a lot of people will go out there and try to tell you how to find it. Some people will tell you that you can find it in someone else, like a soulmate. But the truth is, I don't believe that you can find love and belonging outside of yourself before you find the love and belonging within yourself. What you see in the outer world is always what you are creating in the inner world. And if you want the outer world to look the way that you want it to, the first thing you have to do is create an inner world that is what you want it to be. And what I mean by that is that you first have to figure out how to love yourself. Now, let me go back just a little bit and share a little bit about my story. I was bullied in high school because I was dyslexic. I had quite a few girls who were very mean to me. And that was in the first 2 years. After that, I ended up being quite popular. But there was a change within me as I accepted myself, particularly after I wrote a fantasy novel. And I realized that despite my dyslexia, I had taught myself how to read, which was pretty amazing. It was something that my teachers didn't believe was possible. But I ended up in honors English in my high school. And like I said, the first 2 years of high school, no one really signed my yearbook. It's pretty empty. But by the last 2 years, a lot of people wanted to sign my yearbook and I ran out of space. So something changed within me, and all of that was perspective. Part of that perspective was realizing that I had scheduled things in my classes where I had time to read books during one period, and I did a lot of shenanigans. And the final year, I didn't even have to go to all the classes. I was able to leave a class early before everybody else because I didn't want to be in school. And I'll be the first to say, it's okay not to want to be in school. That's okay. Not every kid enjoys it. A lot of kids see it as a sort of prison. And this day and age, it does look a lot more like a prison than a school, with all the fencing and everything and trying to protect kids from kids that are having issues. And that again stems from this problem of love and belonging. My nephew had quite a bit of bullying when he was younger. And I remember him one year coming to his grandmother's house where I was. And he was complaining about the bullying and the other kids not being nice to him. And I told him what I realized. those kids that are having their peak moments in high school, that's the best life is going to ever be. They're 17, 18 years of age. They're in their teenage years. And all their life, they're going to look back and be like, in high school, my life was like this. It was so wonderful. I was the popular kid. I did everything. Everybody loved me. But then, either they went to college and not everybody loved them, or they got into marriages where they were unhappy. Life happens. And those kids, their best times, their peak moment in their life was probably high school. Some are lucky and they drag it out through college. But once they enter the workplace, they're not going to be happy. And so you kind of have to feel sorry for the popular kids in high school, because they're not going to ever have things better. High school is a very difficult time for all kids, for all people. But high school is a very, very special environment. It's basically a fishbowl. And it's not the real world. But the kids, because they are developing social skills and because they are developing the ego, are very mean to each other. Now, the ego means mask, literally mask. And so you can think of our personality. It is partly our personality. But the ego is what we show the outer world. It's the personality that we develop for the outer world, the people pleaser within us, the part of us that is just that way with other people. Most of us have a person that we are with other people, and then when we're at home, we are a totally different person. As you work through the path of the seeker, that becomes less and less and less. And then you're just your authentic self. You really don't care if people see you as you are. And quite frankly, that's a lot easier when you're older and an adult. You don't have to leave the house all the time. You do have to go to work for 8 hours, but for the most part, when people are adults, they aren't as cliquish as they are in high school, and they're not as mean. People in a work environment have to work together in order to survive. If you're not a team player and you're in a work environment that requires a team player, they're not going to last for very long. Quite frankly, I don't know people who are not team players what they do. I don't know what they do in life because I don't know how they make money. But the people who are team players are going to stay there. And I've had wonderful healing experiences with teams working and in the workplace. And I can say once you start working, things get better. Work is not like school. And when it comes to love, the process that I used, first off, I realized that most of those kids in high school that were having their peak moments, things were not going to get better for them. They had, the valedictorian. Yeah, he went on to become a lawyer or attorney or whatever it was he became. I forget. I think I looked it up once upon a time and then went, oh, wow, he did not age well. And that's what you do with most of those people from high school that were popular. You look at them and you're like, oh, well, okay, I didn't expect that to happen. But they don't necessarily end up happy. Their peak moment was in high school. About 20% through their life. They have another 80% afterwards. And that's if anybody is a child or a high schooler who manages to come across with this, particularly a high schooler or a middle schooler, who are having issues in school because they're seeking love and belonging, please know it gets so much better when you're an adult. Once you're out of that forced system that's just a fishbowl, things are a lot better. There is some environments that I understand where it doesn't become as easy. If you decide to go into politics or I think the movie industry and media, those are all fishbowls too, where people are judging other people and deciding what's going to happen. But for the normal average citizen who's going to do a customer service job or work some non-management position, whether it be an engineer or something like that, or a desk agent, whatever it is, a secretary, for the most part, it's not so much of a fishbowl, and it's more of a teamwork environment. And when you find the right team where you fit in, it clicks, everything clicks. And it does take, and that's the nice thing about being able to choose where you work, it does take changing jobs a few times to find the right people. But if you have the right mindset, if you have that manifesting mindset, that you're going to find the right people and you visualize it and you work with it and you do affirmations, you're going to find the right people to click with. It's going to just happen one day. You won't even have to think about it. But you might have to quit a few jobs that seem like the best job ever in your mind, but when you actually get there, are not. And one of the key things is to test your managers. It's okay to judge a manager. It's okay to go into an interview and be like, oh, I do not want to work with that person ever. And if you think in the first interview, if you're going, oh my God, that person scared the poo-poo out of me, don't go back. Why would you go work for that person? Why on earth? Unless you really were determined to make it on your own, or it's a difficult field like in media or Hollywood. In a customer service job in particular, where you're a disposable employee, don't go back to bad managers and work for them. If you meet them in an interview, just walk away. Let them sink their own ship. Let them not be able to find anybody to work for them. Eventually they'll get fired if they don't have any employees. It's pretty simple. You're enabling them by going back and working for someone you don't like in the interview. It seems simple, but when you're young and impressionable, you think that you have to give in to authority, and you think that authority needs to be scary. Authority does need to be scary. A bad manager is scary. A bad manager is severe and tries to intimidate you the moment you walk in the door. And if they try to do that, it's a sign, it's a red flag that they're probably not someone you want to work for. Now, some of them might work out. Maybe some of them are socially awkward. That happens too. But you have a choice when you're an adult. As a kid, you get stuck with the teachers that you have, whether you like them or not. And I understand that. I had horrible teachers, and I had a couple good teachers over the years. And it's pretty sad that when you go through so many different levels of school, you think about it, 12 years, and you can only think about 2 teachers that were decent and worth their salt. Yeah, but that's school. You go through it for a reason. It does teach you, and you do overcome eventually, and that degree is just proof that you survived it. I'm not sure if it means anything anymore, with college educations being so prevalent, but you survived high school, and you survived that 12 years of education, and not everybody does. Some people end up going to, they have to end up getting their GED. They go to continuation school, which really, really is like jail. And no one there's a lot of a golem effect when it comes to that. The golem effect is where teachers teach to a certain level with their students. And basically, if a teacher is teaching the kids thinking that the kids are not that bright, they're going to assign things and use certain language and other things that indicate that. It's nonverbal pretty much, but it can be verbal as well, because they're going to make their language more simplified than they would with a sophisticated audience. And the golem effect is definitely a factor in continuation schools. They are not putting forth the effort because they don't believe the children are putting forth the effort. They're just going through the emotions because it's a law. And that's terrible. That's sad. But unfortunately, a lot of people go through life and they go through their jobs, including teachers, and they're just going through the motions. They're just surviving. Most people are just on survival mode. Whether it's the popular kid in school or it's a teacher, most people are on survival mode. So how do you get off that survival mode? How do you get to the love and belonging? When do you find your tribe? When do you find love that is never ending? Well, first off, change how you define love. If you're looking for love with a spouse in some way that they're going to connect with you and you're going to meet divinity, that's unrealistic. If you believe that the other person's going to be perfect, that's unrealistic. If you think the honeymoon phase or that first getting to know each other phase where it's all excitement, it's going to last forever, that is unrealistic. Relationships mellow. They mellow into a deep knowing of each other. And sometimes you can still surprise each other, but on a deep level, you know each other through and through. And it gets to the point where you will know each other's stories. You will tire of hearing the other person's stories. You may just know how they feel intuitively because they've expressed it so many times. And you listen to them express it again. You listen to them share their stories again. And you don't necessarily have to respond as you first did or react, but you are there and you're listening. And that presence is enough. And I believe it was Pema Chodron, the Bodhisattva, that I shared her book, When Everything Falls Apart. She shares that relationships are charnel grounds. And what she means, charnel grounds are open air cemeteries. And that's all relationships. It's not just love relationships. It's this open air cemetery where you face death, where you face the crows picking the organs off of human dead bodies. You can't deny that death happens. And why are relationships charnel grounds? Because they are where you are bared. The person that you are with, if you are with them with a long time, if it's a friendship or a lover, they're going to know you so much. They're going to see your mistakes. They're going to see your flaws. And they're going to bring them all forward to you. They're going to point them out. And most of us don't say thank you when that happens. Most of us say, we don't want to hear the flaws. I don't want to hear a problem. I don't want to hear that there's something wrong with me. I don't want to try to fix something with myself. However, that's how shadow work is done. So your greatest asset when doing shadow work is your relationships and analyzing your relationships and where in your relationships there are challenges. And then you can say, I see my shadow. I see where I need to work and develop myself. I see what I need to accept about myself. And then you work on it. And it is this endless process. A lot of people think that they're going to find a relationship and then boom, they are going to have happiness forever. Happy ever after. Either they're always going to be taken care of emotionally or they're going to always be taken care of financially. That's not how relationships work. There are going to be moments where each person turns inward to do their own work, and there will be times where you're working together. The teamwork isn't so much in always doing things together. The teamwork is seamlessly working with one another in a way that is beneficial for both. There has to be both independence and cooperation in a relationship. Each person needs to have their own developed self. And so that is the first step, is to learn how to love yourself. Now for me, I did a few things. I had a few steps on the way. The first thing I did, because I'm a writer, is I wrote down everything that I liked in other people. And then I emulated it. I got a certain haircut. I got certain jewelry. I got certain clothes. And I kind of modeled myself on people that I really loved. And then I strove to be like them. Not to copy them, not to be them exactly. I didn't dress up in like a Wizard of Oz outfit to look like Dorothy, okay? It wasn't something that was very overt where people thought I was wearing a costume. It was basically modeling myself after them in a form of emulation so that I could know what I wanted to do. And so that when I looked in the mirror, I thought, I love you. I love you. You're awesome. It's amazing that is me in the mirror. And so I changed my look. And you'll notice I change my looks all the time. I always change my hairstyle, and I usually change my necklaces and jewelry and stuff. I haven't so much recently because I have kids, and taking the time to change my jewelry is kind of difficult. And I've kind of fallen in love with the 2 necklaces that I made, which you can buy on my website on my blog, by the way. I'll include a link if you're interested. But I've just gotten into the habit, an interest of making jewelry. So the thing is that I changed my image so that when I looked in the mirror, I was happy with what I saw. Now, most people will focus only on their flaws when they look in the mirror. They look at the mirror and they're like, oh my God, I got a pimple. Oh my God, my eyes are funny looking. Oh my goodness, my eyebrows, or, I'm getting 3 wrinkles right here. You can't focus on the negative. I don't look into mirrors unless I'm really doing something like putting on earrings or putting on makeup. And the reason is because I'm happy with who I am. I love, like, my Hamasa hand shirt. How cool is that? I love this jacket. I love my earrings. I get things that I adore, and then I wear them, and I feel better. I feel confident. And it doesn't matter if anybody else likes them. I like them. And that's part of the process is finding out what you like and dislike. And if you like something and you encounter someone who doesn't like it, you say, thank you for the information. Thank you for your opinion. I'm going to move along now because you like it. And you don't have to change yourself for anybody else to like you. You don't have to change anything for someone to like you. In fact, what's amazing is when you love and like yourself, you start attracting people who love and like you. They will come out of the woodwork to make themselves available or just to shine within your light, because so many people don't. Many people just scurry right off into the darkness. They don't want to be seen. They want to be in the background. And that's why when you meet people who are willing to step up and step into the light, people are attracted to it. Now, when I was younger, I didn't date anybody when I was in high school. Didn't have my first kiss until after I graduated. In my 20s, I had no problem finding people to date. None. And that was because, one, there was the internet. I did meet my husband on OkCupid, which I don't even know if that exists anymore. But I went on there for the Myers-Briggs test just for fun to see if it matched what it had been when I was in high school. And ended up talking to people and ended up going on dates and met my husband. And I've been married for 15 years now. I've been with him for 15 years. We've been married for 13 of those. And gone through incredible things. There is a bond between us that I think it's not something that needs to be spoken. It just is there. And it's an interesting process. Relationships are always difficult. There's always going to be friction. There's always going to be things that don't go perfect. But you have a faith in each other eventually when you've been together as long as we have. And like I said, what changed in me, why I went from attracting no one in high school to being kind of popular to eventually in my 20s having a lot of options. Well, one, the guys were different. I did move, but I did have like quite a range of guys. But most importantly, I changed. My inner belief about myself, my belief that I was worthy, that I could find somebody, of having some high expectations and some expectations in general, but being realistic about love itself and knowing that love is eternal ground. It is a place where we learn about ourselves. Our lovers or friends are a reflection of us, and you can't expect that to be perfect. Humans are not made to be perfect on purpose. We are made to be unique, not perfect. And so be your unique self. And the more more you are your unique self, more that you let that freak flag fly if that's what you've got going, the more you will attract others, because people want that. People want to be like that. People want to have that confidence to be themselves, to be self-actualized, They want to learn how to be whole and complete. And when you are whole and complete within yourself, you attract others like that, like a moth to a flame. And so that's what I wanted to share with everybody today, was that love and belonging starts within the self. You have to feel like you belong within yourself. You have to love yourself. And then the rest just falls into place. Sometimes it does take a little bit of looking for a particular workplace, maybe a particular roommate, maybe a particular lover. But you can find it. Just have patience. I know that's difficult. And look within first. Develop yourself first. Develop your mind. And then you can go out and attract just about anybody. Because once you have that within, once you have that confidence within, once you have gained, then other people will naturally want to be around you. But everybody can sense desperation. Everybody can sense someone who's trying too hard. Everybody can sense that person who's low confidence. And it's unattractive to be low confidence. It's unattractive to be desperate. It turns people away because they think that something's wrong. They are looking for people who are whole and complete within themselves, people who are self-actualized, people who have confidence. So try different styles. Try emulating someone you love, a hero to you, or some sort of role model. But pick wisely, use discernment. Definitely choose a lot of people. Take a little bit from this person, take a little bit from that person, take from this person, because no role model is going to be perfect. No one is perfect. Everybody's going to disappoint you. You're going to disappoint you. Why would you hold someone else to a different standard than what you hold yourself to? And why would you hold yourself to a standard of perfection when, again, the goal of this life is to be unique? The goal of being human is to be a unique soul with unique experiences, a unique history, and unique reactions to every situation. Psychology decided that it was impossible to predict how people would react to certain things. And that's because humans are unpredictable, because we are unique. We all have unique histories, and there's just too many variables for it to be predictable. And so I hope you understand, and I hope this message reaches the right people, the people who are seeking these answers. I hope it satisfies you. If you have questions, if I missed something, or you want elaboration, drop a comment. I will respond. I am responding to comments, and basically inspired to do these traveler's notes based on the videos that I've done before and the feedback that I've received. I've got a lot of brilliant comments on my channels, or on my videos and on my channel, and I really enjoy connecting with all of you because I think there's just so much to learn from each other. And that's the attitude that you should go into a relationship with. It's not me just dispensing information here. It's me learning from all of you as much as it is you learning from me. It's a two-way street. There's a reciprocal relationship there. And that's how every relationship should be. You should be learning from them, and they should be learning from you. If someone is closed off and they're not interested about learning from you, then it's probably someone that you don't really want to be in a relationship with. I believe everybody is worthy of relationships, but there are definitely toxic people out there who need to find their way. And one day they might stumble over a video like this and evolve. Or they might just spend their whole life that way because that's what their soul chose, to experience that isolation in depth. Our souls and our soul contracts, we choose what we experience. We choose our childhoods. We choose to experience that uncomfortable high school experience. We choose where we live. It is, in a lot of ways, free will, but also predestination, because we know the possibilities of where we're going to grow up and who we're going to interact with as a soul prior to incarnation. And so that tells you that your soul thought that they were going to learn something from that experience and that it has value. Everything has value. All experiences have value, good and bad. We often learn more from the bad experiences. And so if you're attracting a lot of bad experiences, you might just be a soul that is an overachiever. But you can choose, and you can come to a point where you start to make decisions where you experience a lot of the good. And a lot of it is just a very subtle shift in paradigm, just a subtle shift in perspective. Like I said, my perspective shifted in high school when I realized that all the popular people had reached their peak, and I was probably just a late bloomer who had reached my peak later. And that's exactly what happened. I don't think I've hit my peak yet. If I ever hit my peak, I don't know, I might be sad, but I doubt it. So go out there, participate in relationships, not to get something out of it that's physical or some sense of wholeness and completion, but as a learning experience of yourself just as much as learning it from the other person. Knowing that you're going to fail, knowing that you're going to make mistakes, knowing that there are going to be tough days. There are going to be days where you don't want to. You just want to curl up in bed and just be on your own. That's life. We all go through those days. Mercury's retrograde. I've seen so many people having issues, especially technical difficulties. It's pretty funny. So on times like Mercury retrograde, which happens all the time, it's a cycle that happens several times a year. Things are going to go wrong. Relationships might go wrong. That's just part of life. And accepting that and choosing to learn from that and to grow from that, as opposed to being broken down by that, is one of the choices that you have. Just accept and let it go. Accept and let it go. That's pretty much what it is. You accept the experience and then you let it go. You don't try to hold on to it. You just move right through it. And that is one of the biggest and best pieces of advice that I can give anybody, is when you have a relationship or a situation, is just accept that it happened and move on. You can't change it. The one thing that you are guaranteed in this life is that it's temporary. You're going to have a temporary down and a temporary up. And you just enjoy both when you have them. So when you have a good day, you say, oh, this is a good day. This is good energy. But you know that not so good energy might happen tomorrow. And that's okay too, because the good energy will come back eventually. And that gives you hope during the dark days. And when you're having a good day, it gives you even more reason to celebrate. So I hope that you have more good days than difficult days, but I also hope that you get both, because